Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Mike Reed here, and welcome back to another toy review by yours truly. Today, if you couldn't tell by the title, it's going to be yet another Beyblade review. What a surprise. And for this one, I kind of want to do a bit more of an extended intro, just because of just how hyped I am that I finally have this release after, I want to say, let's see, roughly 3 years. I believe it's 2-3 years since this Beyblade came out. But anyhow, so allow me to set the scene right. So it's 2018. Beyblade Burst Cho-Z comes out, right? Winning Valkyrie, the Achilles, all these other releases finally start pumping out into Japanese stores on Amazon and from Hasbro with what was it? With Beyblade Burst Turbo Slingshot, right? So, in the midst of all of that, we get rumors that a brand new Xcalibur Beyblade is coming out. And since it's been roughly a good few months since the last Xcalibur came out at that time, which was Sieg Xcalibur, also known as Surge Excalius for the English release, we finally got him around, I want to say, I think it was like in the middle of 2018, wasn't it? Hold on. I actually need to check because just with most of these older Beyblade releases, I can easily forget what the release date was for them initially. Okay, so this was released on August 11th, 2018. Yeah, August 11th, we finally get this guy, the topic of our review today, which is Buster Xcalibur from Beyblade Burst Cho-Z / Super Z. So very, very nice here. And as you guys can see, right on the box here, we do have the older style box art with Cho-Z layer system right there, BB1 or B120, not BB120, B120. We have all our logos there, like Attack, Right Spin, Burst System, and Cho-Z Layer System. And this is the Korean version, by the way, of this release, but it's card told me right there. And then we have Buster Xcalibur 1-Sword. I love the fact that they finally named the driver Sword. I think that fits perfectly for Xcalibur, as the last driver that we got, Iron, didn't exactly fit with Xcalibur, at least for me. So, that's Xcalibur right there. As you can see, we got a beautiful art render of Buster Xcalibur right there. He's probably one of my favorite Excaliburs that we've ever gotten. And sadly, he may be our last, as it doesn't seem like Takara's too keen on making another Excalibur as of right now. As it's been like 2 generations now since the last Excalibur, 2-3 generations since this guy came out. What are you doing, Takara? Give us another Excalibur. Jesus. Anyway, that's Excalibur 1-Sword right there. He's bursting in the background. That is Deep Chaos from the God Layer system. And for some reason, I don't think he has his frame on his disc. That's interesting. But anyway, yes, we do have him right there. We do have on top the Blader right there, if I can remember his name. I believe it was Zon Bogard, I think it was? Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was that. So hang on. I actually have the Wikipedia page open. Give me 1 second. So let me make sure I'm getting this right. Xavier Bogard. Yeah, Xavier Bogard. Okay, I was thinking of the other guy who owned him before. What was his name? Xander. Yeah, Xander Shakadera as opposed to the last owner. Yeah, this was that point in the anime where they started changing around the owners for the different Beyblades. It just... I didn't really like Cho-Z that much for that reason. That and the anime was just kind of getting lame for me. But anyway... so we do have the gimmick right there, the Buster mode. Yeah, probably one of the coolest Beyblade gimmicks of Cho-Z until the Awakening Layer system later on. But, you know, it's fine. It's cool. So, Buster Xcalibur right there. We'll flip the box around. And yes, the bottom is kind of bent up, so that's why it flops over a lot. And so right here we have the back of the box with, of course, the bay right there with, oddly, the launcher has the bay logger, even though that doesn't work anymore. But anyway, we have the Deep Chaos Beyblade in the background getting destroyed over there. We do have the layer, disc, and driver parts, which are, of course, Buster Xcalibur 1-Sword. Now, there is something special as well about Buster Xcalibur that we're going to talk about in a little bit here as well. And it's regarding the disc, so hint, hint. But anyway, so we do have the Gimmick right there, again with the Buster mode, showing how large the tip gets, the tip of the sword gets when in Buster mode. And then we do have the stats there, which of course, just like Hasbro, are rubbish, and so don't read into them too much. And then we do have this little shot here showing that, yeah, you can cross, that each piece of the Cho-Z layer system is cross-compatible with each other, and for some reason it's only showing Winning Valkyrie and Z Achilles right there. And oddly, I think they're both in their these Cho-Z entry set colors, which is very, very strange. But anyway, moving that box out of the way. And I should probably pick that back up now because I'm going to have to use that for the end screen. It's silly me. Let's bring in the Beyblade itself, starting with the layer, which is Buster Xcalibur. And again, he looks really, really cool. Probably one of the best looking Excaliburs that we've gotten. And again, it's been 2 or 3 generations since the last Excalibur. Takara, we're waiting patiently for another Excalibur because he needs an update bad. But anyway, so this is him, Buster Xcalibur. It does look very, very nice, as you guys can see in the nice red, blue, gold. And yes, just like every other Cho-Z layer, at least for Takara anyway, Hasbro gutted this gimmick, which sucks, except for the Hasbro release of this guy, which does have it, but not as much as this one. But anyway, the gimmick with this is just, well, the first gimmick is that it does have metal. So the sword is fully die-cast metal, which is awesome because it makes this layer super heavy and hit like an absolute tank. So I do appreciate that. But the next gimmick, of course, is the more impressive one, and the main reason why most people pick this bay up was for the gimmick. Now, this was rumored, at least with the last Excalibur, Siege Excalibur back in 2017, at least last year at that time, the prior year, that people wanted the sword of that last Excalibur, again, Siege Excalibur, to extend out. But of course, it didn't do that. So I guess Takara kind of listened to us, unlike most companies, Nintendo. Anyway, Japanese companies. What was I saying? Right. They actually listened to us and gave us the proper gimmick that we always wanted for Excalibur, and that is the Buster mode, which is activated by simply taking the hilt. There is a button right here. Let me zoom in on it. Right there. You push on that, and bam! There is Buster mode, and that is, yeah, it doesn't do much. I will admit it is a bit goofy of a gimmick. But in terms of its battle significance, it's actually a lot better than you'd think. So, as you guys can see when it is in Buster mode, if you guys can see from the back of the layer, the sword does extend out quite a good bit from where it was. Again, just so you guys can see, this is the neutral position, sorta. Well, actually, let me lock it back in its neutral position. So here it is in neutral position, and then when you push the sword out, that is Buster mode extension. Again, it's not much, but surprisingly it does a lot more than you'd think, because first of all, it makes the layer unbalanced, which for an attack type is actually very, very good. And that's kind of what the Excalibur line is all about, is using that unbalancedness to deliver heavy hits with the sword. And now with the sword being extended, that weight is now pushed that much far further, thus making the unbalancedness more prominent, and thus with the tip now being extended more, it's going to hit harder with the tip of that sword, since most of the weight is in the tip of the sword. So it's going to hit like an absolute tank, and thus it's going to do a lot of damage with it, both on the actual product and in terms of actual battle, I guess, quote-unquote damage, if you will. So it works out. It works out very well. I'm surprised, considering how somewhat goofy and, and very, it's a very small transformation. It's not too, like flashy or anything. It's just slightly moving the sword, but surprisingly it does do a lot. And again, to lock it back in, all you gotta do is push the blade back to its neutral position, hold it there, push the button on the back, which is right where my thumb is, which will then push the end back out. And you can also use the little prongs on your forge disc to push that back into place, but still, You can easily do it with your thumb if you have nails anyway, or just small fingers. But anyhow, there he is back in his neutral mode. So Buster Xcalibur, very, very cool. Very large, very spiky. I also love the decals on this. I should say that. This is probably some of the best decals Cho-Z would ever see, like, ever. Until the Cho-Z Awakening Beyblades, that is, which got a lot of detail. But anyway... for the main releases up until the end of the series, this was one of the better Beyblades to get. But there you go. That is the layer of Buster Xcalibur. Next, we will grab the disc, which is 1-. What's going there?
You take his stuff to Max.
Yep. You good? You good? You good?
I'm hanging in there.
Okay.
Breathing is a struggle. Just Maxie. Hold it for him so that Sienna doesn't steal his bowl. I love you, Max. Can you give them all a cookie for me? Michael, David, can you give him a cookie? Okay, I got it. Okay.
My apologies for the sudden interruption. Let's get back to what I was saying. Right, 1- disc. So 1- is it's a decent disc, I'll say. Very nice weight and everything to it. And as you guys can see, it is significantly larger than the original 1 disc. Which, for quick comparison, here is the original 1 disc from Sieg or Surge Excalibur Excalius. So here you go. So you can see it's definitely a lot more spiky, a lot larger, a lot heavier, and it has less of this sort of weird texture sort of to it. Kind of reminds me of some kind of ancient armor looking thing, these sort of textures there. And again, you can also tell that the original 1 disc, at least from my Surge Excalius, because I have the Hasbro version. I do not yet have the God version, although I am still looking for that. But anyway, even after all these years, and it came out 2017. But anyway, you could tell that this one's been used a lot more because, yeah, that's another con I have about Beyblade in general, is that the discs dull out because of the oxygen. They sort of oxidize and dull out, and it's a pain to get them back to their shiny selves, and I just don't want to do that. I mean, I could, but that's like, no. So that's just too much trouble for me to go through, and that should tell you something. And I'm like the laziest person in amongst my friend group that I have currently. And of course, that's not me saying that I'm bad-mouthing anybody on this stream. I don't want to come off like I'm doing that. I love you. As you guys know, I care a lot about you guys and about the people who, you know, who've gotten really close with me, i.e. Evan, Ava. You know who you are. I don't think I even need to say names. You know who you are. The ones I'm talking about that truly care, truly support, and truly back me and what I do. So, but anyway, enough about that. That is the 1- disc, and we will come back to that because there is a gimmick with that that we are going to talk about in a bit here. But and I also forgot to bring the part to the table here, which is annoying. Anyway, next is the driver, which is Sword. And Sword is rather interesting because it's basically the Iron Driver, which here it is, the Iron Driver from Sieg / Surge Excalibur. So you can see a difference. You can quickly see the similarities and differences between the two drivers. But anyway, so the gimmick with this one is that it has these metal swords, sword hilts that stick out of the driver here. And the whole gimmick with these is that these are supposed to help it stabilize in battle, and they're also supposed to act as extra contact points for battle. So that way, if for whatever reason the Bay decides to attack your driver, you have some defenses down here to keep them from damaging you too much. And also the metal tip is, as I already mentioned, is metal, die-cast metal, and it is flat, so it's going to be more aggressive in battle. That you don't have to worry about it weighing down too much because metal is relatively a very, it's a durable material, so you're not going to have to worry about, like, for example, like the rubber drivers, the rubber wearing down and getting dirty, or like whatchamacallit. You don't have to worry about the plastic drivers grinding and gritting away after a time. So metal drivers are always a win-win because extra weight, longer, a better longevity just going forward when using it, or if you're not using it, then you don't have to worry about that. But if you are, like I am, you don't have to worry about it wearing down too much, or if at all. So the only thing you have to worry about is the metal doling out. But still, there you go. So once we put the 1 dash disc and the layer together, there we have the completed Buster Xcalibur. This looks very, very nice. And again, there is actually a hidden gimmick. I don't know if you guys know that. I know my fellow Beyblade aficionados will know exactly what I'm about to get to, but first, I actually need to go grab the piece that I need for this next segment, so give me 1 second here. Alright guys, now that I have the part that we need to continue on with the review here, let's get right on back to the hidden gimmick. So the hidden gimmick with Buster Xcalibur, and all of the Xcalibur line for that matter, Xcalibur, Xeno Xcalibur, and Sieg Xcalibur, along with this one of course, and of course the Hasbro versions as well, is that during battle it has a third sort of gimmick, I guess. It's a hidden feature, and that is, again, involving the disc. So if you haven't noticed with the disc, it has 3 specific points, which are specifically and strategically designed for a hidden battle function. So if you line the disc up properly, aka during battle, if it clicks 2 times, and 2 times specifically, so let me do that again. So if it clicks once, then it clicks twice, as you'll notice, the one disc will actually, these little points line up almost perfectly with the backs of with the back of the hilt in the front of the sword. And this is again, this is designed for a specific reason. This is supposed to again add to the off-balanceness, and is also, and even in the anime they actually show it doing this, to make for a triple sort of strike attack kind of thing, where the disc lines up with the sword and everything, and then it becomes this off-balance just beast that can just one-hit burst any opponent. Of course, outside of the anime, in real life, it does do something similar, but it doesn't just one-hit burst the opponent if it does it, obviously. But it does do that much more increased damage when it's in this phase. So of its burst, of its clicks. So that is quite nice. I do like that gimmick. And to further enforce this gimmick, later on in Cho-Z, a little after this Beyblade came out, we got the dagger frame, which again is specifically designed for Buster Xcalibur. So how it works is you take it and you snap it onto your disc like so. You just twist it on, And now, when it clicks twice, it's now going to have this extra plastic bit that also has that much more weight added to the back and the front. Again, adding to that unstable nature and now making for a triple attack sort of off-balance gimmick to it. Which, again, is really, really nice. And with that being said, Buster Xcalibur is, as far as Cho-Z is considered, and as far as the Xcalibur line is considered for now, unless they decide to do an update to it and add another member, this is the first and the only member of the Xcalibur family at this point that has a frame, which is very, very cool. I do quite like that. It's nice to see that he finally got a frame, even though he probably should have got this back in God, but whatever. At least he got it. So that is Buster Xcalibur. Very, very interesting Beyblade. So now it's time for the comparison segment, which we're going to start off with the original. The original, if I can actually get this in the frame. There we go. With the original Xcalibur, which I do have the Hasbro gold version that came in the gold Blader set, I believe it was called, or I forget what it was called. It was some sort of little entry set where you could get this guy in. And sadly, even now, at the time of this recording, even after all these years, I still don't have an original color Xcalibur for both Hasbro and Takara. Takara especially is really annoying because the price of the burst system Beyblades, aka the ones that came before the dual layer system, they're sort of a reference to the Metal series, horoscope series, in a way, as both of those series share a common, release, as they were sort of prototypes that were made into actual products, and they sort of kick off, and they were both made to kick off the season. And I believe they did this as well with the plastic generation as well. They had some weird sort of very small little Beyblades that kind of kicked it off before they actually got into the anime and the actual main Beyblades of the show, at least, and of the series in general. So, anyway, you can clearly see the differences between the two. And Xcalibur, fun fact, the original Xcalibur is, I believe if I'm correct, he was the first ever Beyblade Burst Beyblade, or let alone one of the first Beyblade Burst Beyblades in general, alongside Valkyrie, Spriggan, Wyvern, all those good guys, and Kirbyus and all those good ones. Xcalibur was one of the first Burst Beyblades, not alone first Burst Beyblades in general, to have a rubber tip, which is very, very cool. And that is in the form of Extreme, and it was also the first Beyblade to own the Force disc, which, again, just like the previous Xcalibur, when you line it up properly, if it clicks twice, that will enforce the sort of off-balanceness for a stronger attack. But there you go, guys. There you have that. And again, just to reiterate, this Xcalibur right here is from 2015. I know, that's crazy how old this series actually is. It's still fairly young, but still also fairly old as well. For our next comparison, we are going to bring in, and for some reason I accidentally brought the Hasbro version, but then again, my Takara version isn't all that good looking to begin with anyway, because most of the decals are coming off of it, which is very, very annoying. But anyway, this is Xeno Xcalibur, which surprisingly, I believe it kept the same name with Hasbro. Yeah, it was, instead the last name was changed. It was Xeno Xcalius for Hasbro. But anyway, so you guys can see, and he does have Magnum Impact. Great names, by the way, for parts, at least in my opinion. At least at the time. Nowadays, got crazier parts like Nexus Venture on Dynamite Belial. But anyway, these two look very, very nice, actually. Again, what's it? Xeno Xcalibur, I hate to admit it, it was pretty bad during its debut, as it was actually worse than the original Xcalibur that came before it. The original Xcalibur, at least at the time of Xeno's release, was actually a lot better, both stamina-wise and attack-wise, as the impact driver, the lack of rubber on it, the little bit of rubber it does have on the tip, and just the poor weight distribution of the Magnum disc, which again was intentional for the sort of quote-unquote gimmick it has with the, again, when the disc shifts properly, it makes for a stronger attack during battle. That actually made his performance even worse in Xeno. So, yeah, as nice as it looked, at least on the Takara version, and on my Takara version before all the decals started peeling off, which was very annoying. Thinking about replacing that at some point with a newer one, because it's... But anyway, there you have Xeno Xcalibur right there. So, very, very nice. And then lastly, well not lastly, next we're going to bring in the 2017, the year just before this guy came out. This is what's it? Sieg Xcalibur, Surge Excalius, there we go. So, again, with Sieg Xcalibur, and we're going to refer to him by his Takara name for the rest of this segment, but this version of Xcalibur, Sieg, he was the first God Bay to have metal on the layer. Let alone the first Xcalibur to have metal on the layer. In this case, it's on the topmost hilt and on the tip of the blade. And also, he was the first Xcalibur to own the one disc and the first to own the iron driver, which, if I remember correctly, was also the first metal driver for the God season of Beyblade Burst. So that's pretty cool, I think. Again, if I'm remembering that correctly, I could be I definitely could be wrong, as, again, for some of these older products, my memory is not exactly too good on them from time to time, so especially if they're Beyblades I haven't talked about for a while. But still, you can definitely see the similarities and differences between the two right there. So as soon as this starts spinning, we're going to bring in the Hasbro version, Breaker Excalius. Yeah, great name. Not really. Again, Hasbro is bad at naming things, and the naming schemes are just getting worse. But anyway, here is the Hasbro version that I had for a long time, Breaker Excalius. And you can see there's some definite differences between the two. And something else I should note is that, at least with early copies of both of these Beyblades, Breaker Excalius and Buster Xcalibur, both of them had an issue where the button that would activate and deactivate the Buster mode would actually have a weird defect where sometimes would just activate its Buster mode all on its own. And even to this day, no one has a clue why it did that. But thankfully, with later copies, they actually fixed the defect, so that way it actually stays in whichever mode you put it in, which is nice. I'm glad they actually addressed this. So, and with the Hasbro version, you guys can tell it was not released with a dagger frame. Neither has it ever come out for Hasbro, which does suck. That, as you guys can see, there is a lack of decals. The sword driver doesn't have the metal. It's not translucent. It doesn't have it has the stupid slingshot gimmick to it, which, again, I have ranted over and over again about how stupid of a gimmick it was. And again, this was the beginning of the slippery slope for Hasbro in terms of the quality going from great to crap. And what else? The Buster mode is significantly weaker because it only has metal right there on the tip of the sword instead of the entirety like it does on the Japanese release. But again, this was because, of course, Hasbro was shifting away from metal and from the Hasbro accuracy in general. So there you go. There you have that. So next, we're just gonna do some hand-picked favorites out of my collection for Cho-Z to compare this guy to. First of which being Winning Valkyrie. I cannot stress enough how much I love Winning Valkyrie's design, but I hate its performance. And I've addressed that in my original review of Winning Valkyrie, this particular version. This is the original starter release for Takara, at least. And yeah, Winning Valkyrie, battle-wise, has a lot of problems. It looks really good, but performs like crap. And I'm going to be brutally honest. So, Well, it's not totally crap. It's just it could have been a whole lot better performance-wise. But anyhow, there you have those two right there. And next we will bring in, let's see. Oh, I forgot to bring the Achilles. Dang it. Hang on a second, guys. One more break. I swear this will be the last one for the review. So, good, hold tight. Okay, third break in, and like I said, guys, this will be the last one for the review, I swear. So, next we will bring in the Achilles for comparison. And as you guys can see, they do look very, very nice together. Again, the Achilles is actually the better one out of the two main character Beyblades, that being Josie Valkyrie and the Achilles. So that, and of course with the height gimmick and everything, that made the Achilles that much better. But still, very, very cool seeing these two together right there. So let me go ahead and pause the thing. Perfect timing. So there we go. Next we will bring in, let's see. I want to pick, here we go. Bloody Longinus for comparison. Yeah, they kind of screwed over Longinus for this season, as he only showed up in a few episodes and then we never saw him again. But thankfully they did fix this with his next version, which is, Zwei Longinus, which, of course, if you don't know what Zwei means, Zwei is German for two, referencing the two giant dragon heads on it that are full die-cast metal, making it an absolute beast for GT. And of course, with that, it got a dash driver, so that way it can actually handle the power of all that metal slamming into an opponent, during battle. So I do like that. And also with Rage Longinus in the current season Sparking, they made him a lot more prominent in the anime, which again is great. But there you go. So there you have Bloody Longinus. Then he kind of performs kind of bad. But again, in my Bloody Longinus review, I do talk about my problems with that release. Or Shin Longinus, if you want to. That was one of the, that's a little, and again, for my Beyblade fans, my hardcore Beyblade fans, you'll know the joke I was pointing to. As, and hint for those who don't get the joke, Shin Longinus was was a rumored name for Bloody Longinus back when he was first revealed. Anyway, and I just spilled the joke for everybody. Well, there I go, trying to hide the joke from everybody. That was great. Anyway, next we're going to bring in the Cho-Z Awakening Beyblade, starting off with Cho-Z Achilles, and this is the Pro Series version because my Takara version looks like absolute dookie. All in all, again, the red and blue do complement each other very, very nicely together, even though, of course, they're from completely different Beyblade, types or characters. They're completely different, but they still have their similarities. Excuse me, I don't know why I just suddenly gulped a bit of air. That was annoying. So next we will bring in Josie Valkyrie. Why not? My number one favorite out of the Cho-Z Awakening Beyblades, just because it's Valkyrie, and I mean, look at how cool it looks. But anyway, so again, that is the Takara version, and it's not the Pro Series version. This is the original Takara version. And all in all, again, very, very solid Beyblades. These are. So let me go ahead and pause the thing without sliding it all over the place like an idiot. So, and quit flopping. There we go. Okay. Next, we're going to bring in the last Cho-Z Awakening Beyblade, Cho-Z Spriggan. And this is the Hasbro version, because trying to get Takara's version through the, the Cho-Z customized set is pretty much impossible at this point. But you guys can see the differences between him and the three Cho-Z Awakening Layer System Beyblades. So, and then for the last couple comparisons, I just have a couple just random throw-ins which is going to be Dead Hades. In this case, this is the Hasbro version, which is named Dread Hades, because God forbid we can't talk about death in our kids' toy line, and our kids' battling top toy line. But anyway, so there you go. There you have those two together. And yeah, you guys can tell Dead Hades, quite the tiny guy, especially for a later release in Cho-Z. I'm surprised at just how small he is. Next, we're going to bring in Dead Phoenix. This is my Black Wing. No, not Dead Phoenix. Revive Phoenix. This is my Black Wing Revive Phoenix, which, if I've actually discussed about him, he's actually pretty rare, as he is a 1 in 100 chance back in the day when he was first released to actually get him in your starter box. So, and I just got stupidly lucky and actually got him on my first one, and my first and only one for that matter. Me buying multiple Beyblades, and for Takara, yeah, forget it. But anyhow, there you go, or multiples of the same Beyblade for that matter, as prices fluctuate all the time. But still, I am very proud to be an owner of my first ever rare Beyblade ever, which of course, again, is Black Wing Revive Phoenix. Very, very nice. Right there. And then lastly, we're going to bring in Dead Phoenix. I did a review on this as well. I had very positive things to say about Dead Phoenix. So definitely go check out my Dead Phoenix review if you haven't already, as I am pretty proud of that review, considering, well, that and the original Hasbro Dread Phoenix as well, as that review got a lot more popularity than I ever thought it was gonna get. But still, here you go. So there you have those two together as well. So quickly get that pause. There we go. And with that, guys, and with 3 total interruptions, new record. Here we have. That is going to be it for the review of Buster Xcalibur 1-Sword. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this, please make sure to drop a like on this video, subscribe if you're new, and ring the notification bell so that way you guys get notified for all my uploads. Later, Read Squad, and have a good one.